Good morning. Digital ID makes no sense. For the interview that I've just listened to with Lisa Nandy about why the government is imposing digital ID, it is literally a recipe of contradiction to put in the oven and create a cake of hypocrisy. It has absolutely no legs. There's no weight to this. Now, I think this has been announced to take the heat off the Morgan McSweeney scandal and to take the heat off the Andy Burnham issue. We all know that there's a massive investigation going on at the minute. The Electoral Commission have said that as far as they're concerned, it was a legitimate mistake as to why the donations weren't declared in Labour Together, headed by Morgan McSweeney. Have a look at all the other people that are in that. It's quite funny. So unless the Electoral Commission turn around and say they made a mistake, which is highly unlikely because they never do admit, then that may go away unless there's further pressure, which I think there will be from the Conservatives and Reform. They have definitely got the bit between their teeth on this one. So there's that we want to cover up, make go away. And then we've got Andy Burnham saying, he's not admitting, but he's not denying that people have asked him if he would take over, go for Labour leadership. So we've got Starmer and Burnham getting ready to have some verbal fisticuffs over who's the best. We've got Morgan McSweeney wanting everything to go away. So we've decided to announce digital ID. Now, we've announced it as digital ID will be mandatory by the end of Parliament. And that went down like the proverbial sandwich. So when that was announced yesterday, immediate uproar. I cannot tell you how many petitions there are floating around at the minute saying we do not want digital ID. That's what the headline was. Then it changed a bit. And then it became, to what Lisa Nandy has said this morning, by the end of this Parliament, everyone will have a digital ID. But the government will hold your digital ID, but you will not be required to have it and show it on your phone unless asked, which is a soft soap way of saying we'll have all your data and we may or may not ask you. A little bit like you may or may not get asked to show your driving license, but they're pegging it on work permits. They're pegging it on the right to prove you have the right to work in this country. Now, I've just said the word work permit because that's what I believe we should be doing. If the government had announced that there would be a digital work permit, they might have got a very different response because they're saying this is specifically to prove that you have the right to work in the UK. Now, when questioned on that, Lisa Nandy said, well, you could be asked to prove that you have the right to work when you turn up at a factory or you turn up at a job. You could be asked to prove that you have got a work permit, but you might not be asked to prove it there and then. And I'm sitting here thinking, well, why not? Why is it not a contractual obligation that on your first day at work, you turn up with your documentation? Why not? I mean, that's not rocket science. That can just be imposed, can't it? That should be imposed. And therefore the onus is on the employer to make sure that they've seen all of that, ticked all of that, got a copy of all of that before said person is allowed to work. I mean, we have it with DBS checks, we have it with security checks, we have it with every other check. Why are we not having it with an immigration check? Why are we not doing that? Why is that not already standard? So that's one of her arguments, which has fallen apart completely. And then we go on to talk about it's not mandatory, but it will be mandatory. So it's mandatory to have a digital ID, but it's not mandatory to have it on your phone. So if it's not mandatory to have it on your phone, in the same way that it's not mandatory to have a piece of paper to prove that you can work, what's the difference? There isn't one. It's mandatory or it's not mandatory. And it's for immigration, but everyone has to have one. Why do we all have to have one? Why are we not just having a work permit for people who want to work here? But it's mandatory, but it's not mandatory. It makes no sense. I mean, it literally makes no sense whatsoever. Then she talks about it's easy to fake papers. It's easy to get somebody else's papers and pretend that they're your papers. We're literally bombarded right now by stories of people stealing digital IDs. of cloning people's IDs, of hacking people's databases. So we've got JLR, the Co-op, Marks and Spencer's, who have all publicly, recently, had their databases hacked. Currently, there is a case with a childcare provider who is being held to ransom by some cyber attacker. And they are saying, unless you pay us XYZ, we are going to release the photos, details, home addresses of these children. They've digitally stolen their identities. So what's easier? I would say in this climate, it's way easier if we're holding companies like JLR, Marks and Spencer's and the Co-op to ransom, if we're attacking them, if we're getting drones flying over airports, bringing down stability at airports. Why can't we do that with digital ID? Of course we can do that with digital ID. Arguably, it's harder to fake a paper ID than it is a digital ID. Yet Lisa Nandy and Keir Starmer and the Labour government are telling us that this will be a more robust, secure way of keeping a track of people. Are you having a laugh? Have you not seen? Well, obviously they haven't seen what's going on in the world at the minute. They haven't seen the cyber attacks. And then it brings me to cost. How much are we paying for this? How much are we paying the taxpayer for a digital ID system? Why are we not investing that money into the authorities who have the existing powers to enforce whether people can or can't work here? We've got the infrastructure. It exists. We have work visas. We have the right to work. We have passports. We have national insurance. I mean, we have all of the information that they want to digitise, but we're not enforcing it. So why are we not putting this money into the systems that can do the job and actually make sure people are not working illegally? It's there. As Lisa Nandy said, you could go to a factory to start work today and have to show your right to work, your visa, your permit. But you don't have to show it straight away. Well, why not? Enforce that. And by her very admission, everyone will have a digital ID, but you won't be required to use it on your phone. So what's the point? Why are we doing this? Well, of course, we know why we're doing it, to deflect. Now, another thing that Lisa Nandy has said, we've been discussing this for a long time. We haven't. Where's the debate been in Parliament? Where's the discussion been? We haven't been discussing it, and it wasn't part of the manifesto. It's appeared like a puff of smoke. And all on the back of Keir Starmer being the most unpopular Prime Minister ever. And at the Labour Party conference where he's literally fighting for survival and still can't get the optics right and is creating his own brouhaha, for want of a better word. People have got so many things they're angry about in this country. They've got so many issues that they are cross about. They are really cross about Morgan McSweeney. £750,000 in donations being a mistake. Really? Honestly? We're just seeing, our optics are seeing another government doing exactly what the last government did. And we don't want that. But instead of addressing that head on, instead of discussing that, instead of answering the questions that are being put to him that he's ignoring, he's decided to come up with another half-baked idea to try and sell to us, thinking that we're really stupid and we're going to go, yeah, okay, that's a great idea. More instability in the country. Another thing that the British voters didn't vote for. And another thing that the Labour Party are verbally suggesting we are going to have, whether we like it or not. It's an erosion of our civil liberties, and it's an erosion of our civil liberties that it's not being discussed. This mandatory ID that, according to all of the petitions floating around at the minute, nobody wants. But it hasn't been discussed apart from Lisa Nandy says we've been discussing it for a long time. But actually, when we look at it, when we look back, it was rejected by ministers a few months ago. So if it was rejected by ministers a few months ago, why is it back on the table now? Well, it's back on the table now because it's Labour conference. We've got Morgan McSweeney and we've got Andy Burnham. And we've got so many other fires to fight that we just think, well, we'll just put another one over here and that will distract. But it doesn't, because what it does is put more ingredients into the pot to create an even bigger mess. It's just another layer to the dissatisfaction that people feel with this government. And I am gobsmacked that this has even come to light. I am gobsmacked that we are even talking about effectively a work permit that's been dressed up and shoehorned in as digital ID. It is, from what Lisa Nandy is saying, it is a digital work permit. And from what Lisa Nandy is saying, and from what we all know, we've already got the real version of that. Now, we have photo ID cards for our driving licenses. I've just had to renew mine. So, and when you renew it as well, let's remember, when you've got this kind of stuff, you have to pay for it. So we've got another revenue maker for sure, because you'll get your ID card. We used to have ID cards in Hong Kong. You know, I'm not saying that they are not used in other countries. They're used in lots of other countries. But what I am saying is there has been no due diligence coming up to this. It's been sold to us as digital ID. It's immediately been recognised that without any of the due diligence and the debate and the discussion, it's gone down like a fart in a lift. So it's now being repackaged. It's still digital ID, but it's actually just for immigration. But the entire British community will have to pay for that. We are having to pay yet more money to counter an illegal immigration issue. It's costing us again, but we've already got the systems in place. We're just not enforcing them. If we didn't have the people coming over in the first place illegally, we wouldn't need this. And when there are so many legal asylum seekers, when there are so many people with such good intention, such desire to be part of our community, such desire to work, such desire to do the right thing, and they will be punished by this. This is the most short-sighted thing I've seen in a long time. And I mean, I could just literally keep going all day. My brain is exploding with the absolute stupidity. And I know I do see things differently. I know that the way that I'm wired, I do see things differently. I love that in so many ways. But it's also unbearably frustrating because I'm sitting here thinking, tell me I am not the only one that has seen the absolute glaring obvious in this. And tell me that I'm not the only one that feels like the government is trying to pull a fast one on us with another ill thought out policy which erodes trust in the government, because it's another example of how they just rush things through. I'd say to my kids, it's slapdash. There is no thought. There is no preparation. There is no process. There is no flow chart. It's just slash it out there for anyone to see. Act first, think later. And all it's doing is insulting us and creating even more instability. We don't want it. We just want to get on, earn money, and live our lives. And every step of the way, we are having a massive, great hurdle put in front of us to jump. And it is another brick in the wall, until the wall is so high that we can't get over it. And I think that's what the goal is, just complete submission. But digital ID is going to be a monster over the next few days, and mainly based on, what the hell? Are you kidding me? And it will come down to civil liberties and our money. we are paying for another half-baked idea that we've already got the process for. What we're not doing is enforcing it. And that is the issue.